Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel today. And if you could tell from the background behind me, I'm in my crafting room. One of my viewers had suggested that it would be a good idea if I showed you one of my crafty things from start to finish, step by step how I do it. So that's what I want to do in this video, if I can do it. Now I'm attempting to make something that I've never made before. It is for my car because I'm in the process of accessorizing my car, decorating it, if you will. And I actually seen this product on a Temu haul, and it is a console cover. And I seen 2 or 3 different people haul them, and I thought, I can make that. I've got all the supplies at the house to make that. I just got to get out there and get it done. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to attempt to make a console cover for my car. So thank you, Janet, for the suggestion. And come along with me, and we'll see if I get the job done. Okay, this is the cover, the console that I'm going to be making the cover for. The first thing I need to do is get the measurements. So I brought a piece of paper, my Temu ink pen, my Temu measuring thing. Have to get the measurements of it. So we need to know from front to back how long it is in inches. And I would say about 12 inches. So we write the 12 down. Then we're going to measure across the widest part. And I'm going to say 7 inches across. So 12 by 7 is going to be the size that we make it. And we will be adding a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is the material that I'm going to be using. I'm going to have this ruler. I'm going to try to mark it with this. And the measurements were 12 by 7. I'm going to have to cut 2 pieces because I'm actually going to use this material for the top and the back instead of putting like a solid black lining. And I need something to kind of lay my fabric in place because it's trying to slide. But I don't have anything, so I'm just going to put my leg up against it. All right, first we're going to get our 12-inch mark. I hope you can see this, and I know I'm seeing right now that you're not being able to see it. You're not being able to see that either. That's how wide it's going to be. Now, since it's 7 across, I'm going to split it at 3.5. So I'm going to go across to here. I'm going to use this part here. Once again, having trouble seeing. I'm going to use this starting edge and 7 here. That's how wide it's going to be. Then 3.5 is going to be the measurement in the middle. That splits it. Now I'm going to do this again and measure it on the part where I split it. Start over. Now from those marks, I'm going to go back and get my 7 inches across the top. Right here's where I cut it. Same thing on this side. I don't really need to mark this side because I know I'm going to use the edge of it. And then the same thing. Hope y'all can see this because I'm really having difficulty getting it to come across. Once I get the first one made and cut it out, I'll be able to use it for a pattern. So that's going to be my first one. Now I'm going to mark my edges for the cutout part. And I'll use this part here, this seam right here for the edge of that, so I won't need to mark that. And then I think I can probably eyeball across here. I don't really need to mark it. So let me get that cut out. Here's my first piece cut out. I left this on because I'm going to add a seam allowance right there. I forgot to add a seam allowance on this side. I mean, I added a little bit of one. And maybe at the top, I think I did. Yeah. I might be okay. I forgot until after I started cutting. If you can see right there, I did put a little bit of a seam allowance, so hopefully that'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut part of this off. Now I'm going to use my quilting clips that I got from Temu to clip this together. I don't have a sewing table. I have to just improvise and cut on whatever I've got to cut with. Now the next thing I do is match these up. Use my little clips that I got from Temu and clip them together. And then we're going to cut this, and I might even add a little bit of extra fabric on this. It doesn't matter, because if this piece here looks better, I'll use the one that I'm cutting out now for the top and use this for the inside that goes to the inside of the console. Like I said, I've never made one of these before, so I'm just kind of winging it. Okay, here are my two pieces. Now the next thing is to pin it together and put the elastic in. Now I have this piece of elastic here that I tore out of a pair of pants that I bought at a yard sale, and I used the fabric from the pants to put in a quilt. But I saved the elastic because, you know me, I save and try to recycle everything. This is going to be just about the right size. So I'll be cutting it in half, and there'll be two pieces, one across here and one across there. So we're going to go ahead and cut it right up here where the seam is. Probably make it be 6 inches in order to make it be tight enough to go around the console. We'll put this right here and see how that looks. I want a little bit of it sticking over, so probably right about there. There's one, and then we'll just match this one up to here to get our second one, and it only calls for 2 pieces of elastic. So I'll be using these two, and I'll be putting this back to save and use for another project. Now we put the 2 pieces together, right sides together, and I know it looks like it's hard to tell which is the right side, but if you look on this, you'll see this pink here is a little bit darker than the other side. This side here is the wrong side. So you put it together, right sides together. Flip this here because I'm going to put my elastic in here in a minute. Okay, I got to do one more thing before I can start stitching it together. I hope y'all be able to see. Now, before I sew this together, I want to round these corners off because the console is round. In order to do that, I'm going to use my little Temu ruler that I bought, and I'm going to take probably the large size and put it on the edge and make a mark, and then cut that off to round off the outside edges. So let me get a marker. Okay. So you're going to take, well, all right, take this corner. We'll start with this corner. Let me get this out of the way. We'll start with this corner here. Take my largest size and put it right here and make a mark. Now I'm going to cut that out and see how it looks before I do the rest of them. And I think it looks pretty good. There's how round it is. Now what I'll do for the next one, I'll take this corner and place it on top of this one to use it for a guide. Maybe. Edges right here and right here, you want to lay them together and smooth it out. Then you're going to mark around the one that you just cut. That gives you a pattern. Then you'll cut that. Same thing, except you're only marking on one layer, but you're going to cut both of them. So we'll take that extra flap on there. I can always cut that off later. And like if I stitch along here, that can be cut off. The main thing is to get these corners rounded up the way I want. So I got those. Now I'm going to clip this back together. And we're going to try to do the same thing down here on this one. Your edges up. The outside just like that. Then you're going to take your marker and make your little mark. Happens after I get it done that this is just a little bit bigger than the console. That's not going to be a problem. I may put it together and go out and measure it before I finish it with the trim and everything. But even if it hangs over a little bit, that's still not going to be a problem, because I think it'll actually just fill in that area of the card just a little bit better. Same thing on this, measuring, putting your sides together, top and bottom. Make your little marky mark. And now you have this side done. Now we're ready to sew. Now you have your right sides facing one another. Clip all your corners together. Use your little Temu quilting clips. Together, you're going to need to leave an open spot on one side. And I think that I will probably leave my open spot on this side. That's why I have 3 clips on this side and just a couple of them on this side, because I'm probably going to leave it open from here to here. And so that means I will start. I could put a clip in here where you're going to start. We'll just start right here by the Hello Kitty. And you're going to sew around this entire thing till you come to about to this other clip. That'll be good. So this edge will be sewed, but you're going to be open in the middle. You don't want to leave it open by the edge because that makes it harder for turning. You want to actually have some of the edges stitched up on all 4 corners. Leave your opening in the middle. But before you sew it together, you're going to have to place your elastic. And I want 1 piece of elastic at the top and 1 piece of elastic at the bottom. So let's see. Let me think this through. Okay, I had to unpin it because you will, these are your right sides. If you can see this right here, you want your elastic to go in between so that when you turn it inside out, your elastic is on the outside. So what I'm going to do, I think putting the elastic right about there would be a good place. Then you're going to take your material and put it back over it. And you're going to put your clip on the elastic. And it'll actually be at the spot where you're going to stop sewing. Make sure it's laying down flat. Clip everything back together. And do the same thing over here. Make sure you're laying flat on your elastic. And clip it down. Then you want to open it up on this side here so you can put your elastic in on this side. Right about in here is the same. Yeah, I think I'm going to trim the elastic off just a little bit. That's why I cut it big from the start, because you can always take away, but you cannot add back to it. So you want to always make sure you've got enough. Now I can put my Temu clips directly on the elastic part. On both sides. And then you're going to do the same thing to the elastic over here. Now I'm probably going to end up turning this over to sew it because it looks to me like it's not flush all the way. So I'm probably going to end up turning it over and sewing it on this side. Yeah, that'll be good. You want to make sure you catch all your edges. Now, like I said, I'm going to leave my open spot on this side. So what you're going to do, I'm going to start here right above this, actually on the elastic. I might end up moving that down a little bit farther, the opening, maybe put the opening right here, because I want to make sure I catch that elastic. You raise your presser foot up. Now, I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to move it in just a little bit. Let me see if I can adjust it. I really would like my camera be facing down, but I tried putting my tripod up there earlier and there's no way it'll fit. All right, so you want to sew a little bit and back stitch. Sew up till you get to the binding clip. You can move it down just a little bit because you are now going across the elastic. Then when you get to the clip, let's take it out. Now we're going to continue sewing around like that. And when you get to the curve, you might want to sew a little bit, stop, lift your presser foot and rotate it, sew a little bit, lift and rotate, so that you have a smooth curve around that outside edge. Unless you can sew it without lifting it. If you slow down and sew really, really slow, you can probably do it that way. Okay, now right here's where I've left the open spot in. So we're going to sew off now. Then we're going to check the seams to make sure that we've caught all the material. This is the time where you can go back over it and re-sew it if you've skipped the spot. So we're going to sew off first. Now we're going to go back and look and make sure we've got all the parts caught. Now if you'll notice right here, that stitching is very close to the edge, so I am going to re-sew over that. But this is the time where you'll go back and you're going to trim all your excess fabric off. Now you will want to have, like right here at your elastic, you'll want to have some reinforced stitches on it. But I only sewed once on this side because once I turn it inside out, there's going to be an edging put on it and it'll be sewed around the whole entire thing one last time. So you're just checking to make sure everything is stitched. Then you're going to go back and trim all your excess fabric off. Look on both sides when you're trimming it, because on this side it looks like it's good. But when you turn it over, see all that extra? That's all got to come off. So be sure you turn it over and check both sides when you're trimming it. Find any areas where you have to go back over it and re-stitch it. Now another thing you can do, I'm going to do this after I get it sewed, go back over it. On your corners here, to get them to turn better, you want to take and make little tiny snips, not all the way through your fabric, but down to the stitching, you're going to make little snips. So let me go back over and re-sew this whole thing, and then I'll come back and show you how we turn it inside out and check it. Okay, I sewed back over this part here where the stitching was close to the edge. Now, I'm not really too actually concerned about that because, like I said, once I turn it inside out and put the binding on it, it's going to be caught again. Now, this is where the little nippers that I got from Temu, this is where they come in handy. You're going to take your corners and make little tiny nips, just like that. Not all the way down to the thread, but I mean close to the thread. Get as close as you can without cutting through it. And you're going to do this on all four corners. This just makes it easier to turn. And these little nippers that I got from Temu are the perfect tool to use for that. These little nips like this, they just make it turn a lot smoother. Boning tool that I bought from Temu is going to come in handy. I need to be do that. I'm going to turn it inside out. Right here's the opening. And you're just going to start taking your material and pulling it in through that opening and bringing it out. Now, like I said, your elastic will now be on the outside of your console cover. That's exactly where you want it to be. Just like that. Well, I mean, that's on that side, but you can, there you go. Piece of elastic on the side with. Now this is what I got so far. All right, once you get that, you take this little boning tool that I got from Temu, and you're going to push it all the way around into all your corners. And if it's a pointy corner, you know, it'll make your point better. And on these round ones, see how nice it makes that round corner? All right, now you got it like that. Here's my cover so far. This is the side that goes on it. This is the top side that I'm actually going to see. I wish I had cut that out where I had a Hello Kitty thing right there. But I might be able to go back and find a Hello Kitty in my stash and just stitch it on there. You're going to do, you're going to put your trim on. Now I have two colors of seam binding that you use. This is what I'm going to use. When my grandmother died, I inherited all her sewing supplies, and I got a whole basket load of seam binding, every color. And I knew today when I was starting this project that all I had to do was go down there, and I knew I would find pink or red or purple or something. And I did. So now I got to narrow it down between which of these two colors looks the best with it. And I'm actually thinking this one looks the best, the lighter color. So that's what we're going to go with. Now, when you get seam binding, you can make your own seam binding from fabric. That way it matches. But when you get it from the store, this is how it'll look. It'll be flat on one side, completed. And then on the other side, you're going to have these two little bitty, these seams that open up like this. And then they're ironed together. And when you're putting this on your project, you're actually going to take it and fold it in half like that, right on that seam. And that's what we're going to put around the outside edge of this. So in order to get it on there where we want, once again, we're going to use our little quilting clips that we got from Temu. And I'll just clip a little bit of this to show you. I won't do the whole thing. And also, too, for the opening that we got, clipping it, the seam binding on here and sewing this together is the way that you're going to cover that up and close that up. So let me see. I want to start it. Oh, let's start it to ironing board and iron it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of roll it between my fingers. Put my seam binding on. This seam binding is so small. And this is fleece material. I could pinch it on there and get it, but I doubt if I stitched it if I would catch it all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put it on the back side, just on top like that, and stitch it. And just leave the other side uncovered. So what we'll do is put it like this with a clip. I'm going to clip it like this all the way around, then I'll come back and show you. Okay, it's finished. I'm going to tell you something about sewing. You could pick out a project and think, man, that looks pretty easy. I could probably whip that up in 10 minutes. 2 pieces of flat material sewed together with elastic. Once you get into it, it turns out to be more complicated than what you thought. I had issues. Y'all, I had issues. I ended up going, since the seam bind was too small to fold, and you can buy bigger seam binding, but I'm not going to buy it when I've got a bucket full of it down in the basement. I just went ahead and sewed it flat. But look what I did. I went back and put a fancy stitch on it. See the fancy stitch, and you can even see it on this side. See right here? And that kind of dressed it up a little bit because all I did was lay the seam binding down around the top. See, there's no seam binding showing up on this side. That's just pure fabric with stitching in it. But it does on this side. And the seam binding just kind of gives it an extra little sharp finish. Makes it look a little nicer. Got my elastic in there. I should have taken it out to the car and tested it before I finished it. But what I'm thinking I might do, when I feel like it, now that I know how to do it and how much trouble it's going to be, I might make another one of these and put the Hello Kitty head right there in the middle. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to find a Hello Kitty head and sew it in the middle of this one. Because I think I can do it and clear that elastic. And in a minute, I'll take it out and put it on the car. We'll look at it and see how it goes. But yeah, go back and trim all your little threads. And just be forewarned that sometimes the project that you think is going to be really easy turns out not to be so. Alrighty. Y'all, I went ahead and sewed the face in the middle. I just cut one out and sewed it on there. I don't think it looks too shabby, do y'all? So now let's take it outside and see if it fits in the car. Here's the cover. Let's see how we do it. I guess I can put it like this. Not too shabby. I think I did a pretty good job with it. Let me bring you over here so y'all can look at it from a different angle. Whoops. I hope that's showing up. I can't tell. I think it looks good. I think it fits really good. Now the next project that I'm going to do, let me hold this up. You can see my hand. The emergency brake right here. I'm going to make a cover for it. Then I already have one on the gear shifter. And let's see. Oh, I'm going to make seatbelt covers to go on the seatbelt. And I thought I had a handle up there. You know, those kind you hang on to. I was going to make one for that, but I don't have, so I guess that'll be it. But yeah, I think the console cover's looking pretty sharp. Whoops. I think it looks good. Considering I just kind of did it out of the top of my head. So that's it. Thanks for coming to watch this video. It was stressful, but I got it done. I do enjoy sewing, and I like to make my own patterns for stuff like this. I have plans to do covers like this for the stove and the ice boxes. You know how you have handles on your ice boxes? And I hear my dogs in there singing, so I'm going to say bye for this one. Thank you guys for coming to visit with us, and y'all come back and see us any old time. Bye for this one.